Let's dive into a story that feels like it's been ripped straight from a spy novel. We've got a mysterious death, a high-stakes global summit, and they are connected in a way that is, well, you just have to hear it to believe it. So where does it all start? It starts right here, room 808, in the Westin Hotel in Dhaka, Bangladesh. It's amazing how one single room can become the very center, the epicenter of a massive international incident. Because what happened inside that room, well, the shockwaves were felt around the world. And that's the big question, right? How does one man's death, just one person, end up sparking this huge global spy story? We're talking alleged assassination plots, shadow diplomacy, the whole shebang, involving some of the world's biggest superpowers. So to figure this out, we have to go back to the beginning, back to the man at the heart of it all, the man who was in room 808. So who exactly was he? Well, his name was Terrence Arvelle Jackson. He was 50 years old, a U.S. Army Special Forces officer. On August 31st, 2025, he was found dead in his hotel room in Dhaka. Now, the official story is that he was there working under diplomatic cover. But, as you can probably guess, that's just the very beginning of this rabbit hole. And this is where things get really interesting. You've got these two completely different stories about the same man. On the one hand, there's the official profile. He's a decorated Special Forces vet in Bangladesh to do some routine security and military training. Simple enough. But then there's the other story, the alleged mission, that he was actually a covert CIA-linked operative running a super high-stakes geopolitical operation right from that hotel. And his death, well, that just adds another layer of mystery. The official word from the Bangladeshi government was no evidence of foul play. Case closed, right? Not so fast. Some reports started bubbling up, claiming that traces of radioactive isotopes were found in his body. I mean, radioactive isotopes, that's straight out of a Cold War spy thriller, isn't it? Think shadowy assassinations and secret agents. Okay, so remember, Jackson's death didn't just happen in a vacuum. The timing is absolutely critical here. It all went down just a few weeks before this massive international event was about to kick off in Tianjin, China, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's summit. So the SCO Summit, this is a huge deal. You've got all the major players from across Eurasia there. We're talking Prime Minister Modi from India, President Putin from Russia, everyone. But on the day of the summit, something odd happened. Something that was definitely not in the script. A break from protocol that probably made a lot of people in the intelligence world sit up and pay very close attention. Now, to the public, everything looked great. It was all smiles and handshakes. Get this, the phrase Modi and Putin hugged and chatted hand in hand was literally the top search term on China's version of Google. And that just shows you the public face of it all, right? A perfect picture of friendship. But behind the scenes, a completely different story was supposedly playing out. And this is the key moment. Instead of taking their own cars like they were supposed to, President Putin actually waited for Prime Minister Modi. And he insisted they ride together in his armored limousine. They even stretched what should have been a short trip into a 45-minute private chat. So why the sudden dramatic change of plans? Well, according to the stories that came out later, the answer is just stunning. It was because of a shadow plot, an alleged plan for an assassination. So let's connect the dots here. How does a death in Dhaka link to a summit in Tianjin? The alleged plot goes something like this. Step 1, Terrence Jackson, from his hotel room, was activating a secret cell. Step 2, the target was Prime Minister Modi, right there at the summit. And step 3, the whole thing was stopped at the last minute by this totally unprecedented intelligence sharing operation between 3 different countries. So who are the key players in this international drama? It's like a cast list from a movie. You've got the CIA, allegedly as the plotters. Then you have India's intelligence agency, RAW, protecting the target. Russia's FSB, the successor to the KGB, swoops in as the saviors, providing that secure limo ride. And maybe the biggest surprise of all, China's MSS, who were supposedly the ones who tipped everyone off in the first place. So what happened after all this? A wall of silence. Totally predictable, but it says a lot, doesn't it? As the officials clammed up, the rumor mill went into overdrive. The official statements were, well, barely statements at all. The U.S. Army put out this super vague notice that all their personnel were accounted for, but they never even said Jackson's name. The The State Department? No comment. And as we already heard, Bangladesh said there was no foul play. It was a total clampdown on information. But of course, not everyone was staying quiet. The people who broke the story had a very clear take on the why. They saw it as a massive geopolitical power play. One retired intelligence officer basically said this whole episode shows just how far the U.S. was willing to go to break up the friendship between India and Russia and to weaken that whole BRICS alliance. But, and this is a really big but, we have to look at the other side. There are plenty of people who think this is all just a fantasy. One veteran lieutenant general just dismissed the whole thing as social media grist, basically unverified nonsense made for the internet. And this is where it gets blurry, right? Because whether it's a real plot or just a fake story, the narrative itself starts to have a real impact. And that brings us to the real core of this whole thing. Maybe this isn't just about spies and summits. Maybe it's about a new kind of battlefield, one where information itself is the weapon. It's a concept called information warfare. And what that means is the story becomes the weapon. It doesn't even matter if it's 100% true. Just planting the idea, the rumor, the allegation, that can be enough to break alliances, create suspicion, and totally shape how people around the world see things. So the big takeaway here is that the old world of spies and trench coats is merging with the new world of online information wars. A story like this, true or not, can have very real consequences, because sometimes the idea of a plot can be just as dangerous as an actual one. Which leaves us with one final, kind of chilling thought. Maybe the most important question isn't, did this really happen? Maybe the question this whole affair really forces us to ask is much bigger. In this crazy, shadowy world of global power games, what else is going on that we know absolutely nothing about?